Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Ayn, if you don't know me, and today I am going to answer some of your questions. So thank you so much to everyone that has either answered my Q&A stories on Instagram. Do you even call it that? Well, anyway, if you don't follow me, feel free to do so. I usually share more like daily tips and updates. And also thank you to everyone that has been commenting on my videos. That helps me hugely to grow this channel. I thought I'd pick out some of the questions that I've been asked in the comments and answer them today. She says, now I've lost my phone. I don't know where the questions are. One sec. Oh, here we go. The first question is actually one of my favorite ones, and it is, what was the most amazing event that you worked on and why? Now, I work on a lot of amazing events with amazing authors, but there is one that has got a very special place in my heart. This was one of the first events that I worked on as part of the Penguin Connect team, and it was pre-pandemic, so it was an actually in-person event. It was a book club dinner, really nice and fancy, may I say, and it was with the absolutely amazing and brilliant Bernardine Evaristo, who is the author of, amongst many other books, Girl, Woman, Other. So she was back then the winner of the Booker Prize, and it was one of the first events right after the announcement, so it was before she was caught into a storm of doing so many more things. And she is an absolutely amazing person, and the event was just like very exciting. I remember sitting at the dinner when she was delivering the talk, and then when she was answering the questions, and I had this kind of really intense moment that was quite emotional, and I was just like, I cannot believe I'm getting emotional now as well. I cannot believe that I get to accompany her and facilitate, you know, this amazing author being amongst this like creative team of brilliant people and brilliant minds. It was, I'm not going to talk about the client obviously, but it was a very special night, one that I will cherish forever, and yeah, that would have to be my favorite event. And then the next question is actually also an events one, which is like, what is like a funny thing that happened or like a blooper that happened in one of the events that I worked on? Is going to be the same event actually that I talk about, because it was a very bizarre night. So this dinner was taking place in the middle of London. So it was like in very central London. And it was on the night that basically the London streets were going to be lit up with the Christmas lights. Now, bear in mind, this was literally one of my first, if not actually my first solo event. I was just a month into the new job, and it was my first in-person event as well. So basically what happened is that the streets were all closed because there was going to be a performance, and we kind of like couldn't get people in. Now, I wasn't the person that actually had planned the event. I was just like looking after the author and making sure that they were arriving at the venue okay and delivering the talk and then going away again and sort of organizing the books and the photography, and that was about it. But yeah, so there was like a bit of a scary moment because everything was shut down, and I remember just like running into the packed streets of central London trying to find the author. Like complete madness. And yeah, I just literally remember this scene, which was so funny, of me talking to a policeman and say, "You do not understand, this is the winner of the Booker." And he just like looked at me as if I was some kind of crazy person, because I suppose if you're not in book publishing, you probably don't really know about awards and stuff like that. But anyway, I thought that was a really funny thing. It all went absolutely fine, and the streets were reopened shortly after my little scene, and everyone arrived, and the author was fine, and it was all good. So I thought it was like a funny thing, and yeah, I hope I'm not gonna get in trouble for sharing that, but nothing really happened. But it was a bit of a intense events moment, and I will forever remember trying to get a policeman to understand how important the winner of the Booker Prize is. But there you go. Ooh, this is a good one, and it's which one is the first book that I've ever worked on? is a very, very good question. And I don't think I'm gonna be able to answer that because it kind of depends also what you mean by what is the first book that I've ever worked on. I started working on books quite early on, obviously in different capacity. It could have been like a bit of production, it could have been a bit of sales. I remember the first task that I was given when I started my role in trade publishing, which was actually to sort out the James Patterson schedule. I will leave it at that because I don't even remember what that actually was, but that was like my first thing. So that could, obviously a big household name. And yeah, that was like my first task. Next question is, have you considered asking for book proposals to help writers publish their work? This is such an interesting question. Right, I will be releasing something about helping authors. It's not going to necessarily be me helping with proposals directly, but it will be helping aspiring authors to be able to publish their book. So yeah, spoiler alert, because I wasn't really planning on making an announcement for this, but it will be coming up probably like in November time. It will be on YouTube. So if you are an aspiring author that is wondering how to be able to publish your work, then stay tuned because I've got something for you. Oh, this is a good question. What has helped you to deal with rejection? Well, if you haven't watched my videos on rejection, I'm going to link them up here and down in the description below because I really talk about how to overcome rejection, and I also talk about some of my experiences with rejection. But I think the biggest thing that has helped me to deal with any type of rejection is to actually realize that is really basically like not personal, is like not about me, and that's kind of it really. And I always like look at things as, are they meant to be or are they not meant to be? I do think that we create our own fate, and I am just like a big believer on the fact that things do happen for a reason. So if you're getting rejected for a position, then there is probably something else that is more suitable to you and that was like for the best. I don't ever think necessarily that you have done something wrong if you get rejected. I think it's just like so many things come together to make sure that whatever you're trying to do is actually successful, that you can't really predict whether it's going to be or isn't. But the best thing is, for me, I always look at everything as, if it wasn't this one, I'm sure it's going to be the next one. There will be something better for me. And yeah, that's kind of what helps me. Oh, this is like a really good one actually. I was going to try and do a video about it. The question is how to answer application questions. More publishers are asking questions rather than cover letters. Yes, I am aware of this actually. So essentially, usually for applications, especially publishing applications, you get asked to send your CV and your cover letter. And now increasingly more so for entry-level positions, publishers are asking maybe also a CV and cover letter, but then there are like a series of questions that you have to answer. Now, I have like had a look at this, and my biggest tip to be able to answer these questions is read them very carefully. The questions that I have seen are really not that hard. They are mostly stuff that you could actually have already talked about in your cover letter. And so first thing to do is, usually there's always a question about yourself and to tell something about yourself. So go and reference your cover letter and see what you can reuse from that. And then the others are often about maybe the skills that you have for the role that you're applying for, or that could be about the company or something that will tell them basically that you've done your research into the company. So just make sure that you give yourself enough time to do that. And one big tip when you're answering these questions is please do not answer with like 2 sentences. Just make sure you build like a nice paragraph. You don't need to have an essay, but if there is no word count, just make sure that is like a good, strong answer with like a beginning, a middle, and an end, and not just like you blabbing about a few things that you seem to remember about that specific topic. So make sure that you're researching the company and make sure that you really read them, because I've had a few people asking me this, and actually when I looked at the questions, I was like, it's not that, difficult, and it's all stuff that is going to ultimately help you once to get to interview stage, because you would have already done that research around maybe a book campaign, or maybe like a specific deal that was closed, or a specific editorial acquisition that was done by that company, whatever it is obviously that you are applying for. So this is a question that actually came from someone who has a degree that isn't related to publishing but wants a little bit of advice. So the question is, do you have any advice for someone looking to gain experience and grow their resume CV to hopefully stand a chance in this competitive industry? Yes, I do have advice. I think the first thing to remember is you're not starting from scratch, you're starting from experience. The fact that you don't have a publishing related or literature related degree doesn't mean that you don't have relevant and interesting skill. I think actually when you're coming at publishing with a different background, there's a lot that you can like tap into that will make you even a better candidate. Some of the people that come through the kind of usual publishing channels. So make sure that you understand what is the transferable skills that you can bring to the role using that experience. So don't discard that. It's very important that you remember that is very valuable experience. So take and harness everything that you can from that. And then the other thing that I would say is, if you're currently working in a different industry and a different job, I'm gonna assume that you have like not very much time in your hands to be able to like volunteer. But if you can at least take part in some of the local community bookish things that are happening, that is going to help you to feel a little bit more integrated in the industry, and is going to give you something to talk about when you're writing cover letters or if you're getting to the interview stage. So just make sure that you add something that shows your love for books. Another big tip if you're coming from a different industry is, can you create something within your current role that has to do with books? It could be a book club, it could be having like a little, you know, like shelf with books that people can come and go, and that is going to give you something to add into your CV, which is really lovely and really showcases that you have a passion and love for books, but in a practical way. Next question is, did you study at university and what did I study? Okay, so I did study at university and my degree is actually in Italian literature. So I never studied English literature. I've never studied languages either. Probably in hindsight would have been useful, but it wasn't my plan initially to actually move to the UK. So that is what I studied. That was a while ago, and then I did an Erasmus year and came to the UK, and once I did that, a few years after, I then did a master's in publishing at UCL, and I'm actually I'll either have released or I'm going to release a video about how to make the most out of your university and training and MA time. So make sure you check that out. I will link it in the description down below or in a card up here. And yeah, so that's what I studied, not necessarily publishing heavy, but obviously still in the realm of literature and books. Okay, I think this is gonna be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. If you've got any more questions, please leave them in the comment down below and I'll do my best to answer them. I really love to help any way I can, so nothing is off limits. If I can answer it and can help you, I will. So make sure you comment down below, and see you in the next video.